y'all. Welcome back to Baylin's Book Club. Did you miss me? I feel like it's been forever, but really it's just because I heavily procrastinated on making this video. Today I'm doing something. Wait. Before I get into that, let's get into our little drinks. I'm actually so excited to try this. I've always seen these. I thought they were alcohol. They're not, okay? And I'm a little hungover, so we don't need any more of that. Um, it's this ginger beer, and I got blood orange. I probably look like my mom when I just stop. Okay. It says with real ginger, natural flavors, Italian blood orange. I mean, I love a good blood orange. It's literally my favorite fruit. So, oh, that's that's ginger. It was like juice and then ginger, which is like fine. Like I don't mind that. I actually like, you know how you can put ginger or like turmeric and sugar and water and like do that for a couple days, ferment it, make it bubbly, make it yummy, make a soda. If you didn't know that, now you do. It tastes like that. So honestly, I'd just be like, low key, you can make it at home without the extra shit. Anyways, I'm like, I knew I would be kind of iffy on those because I was like, you're really like hitting home the ginger. So I also got a little backup, but she's already gone. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently, as you could probably tell by the title. I'm trying out something new. This book, Island of the Blue Dolphins, it's fairly short, was but not buddy shorter. Yes, just a little bit, but I love that book. Here we are. There he is, and I could analyze him all day. But this book, it's not that I can't analyze it, it's just, she was a little bit of a quicker read. So I'm doing this video called a speed read where we just do the whole book in one video, and obviously it's going to be a little bit of a longer video. There's just really, I felt like to drag it out to even 2 videos, it kind of felt disingenuous at times. I was just like, "Eh." So I was like, "Let's try something new." We're still early in the channel. Let's do it up. So we are gonna be again reading The Island of the Blue Dolphins. Hi, airplane. Anyways, we're gonna be reading Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. So let's get into it. So this book was also another one of my childhood favorites, and it's also a John Newbery medal. Is it like a winner? Or I feel like this is a different color. Let's look. Because I feel like this one was gold. Me when I should have done this research before the video. But I'm just like now realizing. And no, it says John Newbery medal. I mean, maybe they just changed it, maybe they updated it. Anyways, so I really feel like as a kid, I must have been assigned something to be reading like medal award-winning books because, like, ain't no way. But we're reading. Obviously, we have to dive into our facts and all of that before we get into the book. So this was the Newbery Award winner for 1961. That's my first cool fact. Like, 1961, like, my parents weren't alive yet. None of y'all's parents should have been alive yet either. I'll say because of that, like, I'm just gonna be so up and honest right now. They refer to the natives as Indians. Um, and I really don't love that because it's like not even the United States. Like, like the reason they were called Indians in the United States is because Christopher Columbus got lost. He thought he was in India, but it's just like, so this is like a random island. Um, so why are you calling them Indian? So that wasn't cute, but again, like 1961, we have to go back in time sometimes, and sometimes it's not cute. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, they're gonna be looking back in time and thinking, "Ugh, that's not cute." So, yeah. This book is actually based off of a very real story of a very real woman named Juana Maria, and I actually want to go over her story and highlight who she actually was before we get into the fiction. The fiction is fun, but especially when we're dealing with the removal and death of natives, I really want to highlight what actually happened. So, the very real story is that during the 19th century, white Europeans were clearing out the peoples of the Pacific Rim, pushing them more toward California as they continued west and took their lands. The last to be removed from their islands were the people on San Nicolas Island that they named the Nicoleños, who arrived in California, forcibly. But they were missing one woman from their tribe. These islanders had it rough with the forceful exit that they had to make. They had killed a Russian hunter that had come on their land, and in return, the Russians massacred their people and got to keep exploiting their seal harvests without having to deal with them. 21 years later, the Nicoleños were made to leave their home to California, leaving Juana Maria behind. 18 years after that, she is finally brought back to the mainland, but she's found by literally some random white dude that takes her back to his house and baptizes her. And then she died 7 weeks after he brought her to his house. So I know that was kind of a lot, but basically, the white people came on the island. They wanted their shit. They were like, "Hey, what the fuck?" They killed the white people. The white people were like, "We'll remember you, babe. We're making circle." Came back, cleared them out. Did the kind of humane thing by sparing some of them to bring them to California, probably to take advantage of their skills and knowledge and labor and shit like that. Left her behind. She's found by some random dude. And I can't say she was killed because, again, her story is just that she died mysteriously 7 weeks later. I honestly can't say she was killed. Maybe she was abused to death. Maybe she ran away and died somewhere. We can only imagine the horrible things that happened to her. Hi, who's blowing up my phone? But I really want to remember her story while we're reading something that is fiction and is made for children. These things were happening. Anyways, I got my information on Juana Maria from what is it called? Like academic article, the JSTOR databases. I'm gonna link it below. There's also another website you can check out that I would love for you to check out actually that I'm gonna link below. Because we need to be aware of the very real things that are happening. So all of that sad stuff is done. Let's get into the book. So don't worry, the actual story of Juana Maria, it doesn't spoil this story too much, okay? Basically, we're looking at the life of a teenage girl while she lives alone on her island. Yes, it does mimic, it was inspired, but it's a little more interesting, a little less depressing. Let's get into our characters. First, we have Choig. He is the leader of the tribe, and then he has three children, Karana, Ramo, and Ulape. He's understanding and patient, but he's pretty stern, but he's like deeply knowing of people and their nature. He's pretty like, not like like good intuition. I don't want to say psychic, like very good intuition. Then we have Orlov. He's the Russian leader that first makes contact with the people on the island of the Blue Dolphins. Sorry. Then we have Corona. She is the main character. She's Miss Girl on the cover. She again is the daughter of Choig. She's a fun-loving girl. That just ends up being in a couple terrible positions. Wrong place, wrong time. Then we have Ulape. She's the oldest daughter. She shows it. She's like very responsible, organized, follows the rules to a T. And she's just like, here we go. And then we have Ramo, however you want to pronounce it. I'm gonna say Ramo. He's a rambunctious younger brother, very full of life. And I guess probably why I liked this book as a kid is because I have an older sister and a younger brother. So like I can do like a little self-insert. And they're actually pretty accurate with the sibling dynamic and kind of like, the firstborn trope, secondborn trope, youngest trope. And yeah, it was pretty like easy to relate to. I thought that was kind of silly. Okay, so Karana is out doing chores with her brother on the island. That's how we start out the book. Because she's usually the one who watches him at this point. He's pretty wild. He's always getting into trouble, but because they're not too far in age, like um I feel like it doesn't say exactly their ages, but it's giving like she and Ramo are closer in age than like she and Ulape. So she's kind of the one that's like paired with him. And she makes sure he doesn't wander off and get into trouble. As they're doing chores, she sees a ship, Jesus, coming towards the island, and she has a really bad feeling about it. But she says nothing because she needs to watch her brother. And she says in this moment that this feeling is excitement. She's like, I felt a feeling of excitement seeing the boat. And she's pretty young at this point. She does age in the book. And so I'm like, I feel like she's mixing up excitement and nervousness because ain't Ain't no way. Y'all would be happy about this fat ass ship that you can see from inland, because they're not on the shore, that you can see from inland approaching your island. I think you might be looking for a different word, Miss Girl. This uneasy feeling wasn't entirely wrong. The Russians come to shore, and she knows that they're Russians because her father had dealt with the Russians before. She can tell by the sails when they finally pull up and like the water. You know how the water kind of like reflects when things get like far out and you can't really tell the colors. So when that wears off, she's like, oh shit, it's the Russians. They had a previous bad experience, which we'll get into later, but they make sure to tell Chowick, hey, we come in peace, and they even speak the native tongues to make sure to tell the warriors that, which I thought was pretty okay, Slay. You learned their language. Okay, Slay. We interrupt that little scene to learn about the names of the people in this tribe because it pertains to what happens with Choig, and we learned that is Orlov that had just come onto the shore. So we know the main character as Karana. That is her secret name. So her known name is Won A Pele, which I'll probably, if I remember, I'll put it like right here, spell it out for you. And it basically means girl with the long black hair. So they said, yes, bust down, bust down. The myth is that secret names become worn out, so you don't want to give them to people because they make you lose your magic the more that people know them, and it's easier to, abuse you, right? And kind of like find your weaknesses and things like that. So going back to the scene, she sees Choig, her father, the chief of the tribe, talking to Russians, and she sees him give them his real name, um, which she and the rest of the tribe believe is a very grave mistake. So basically, Orlov is telling Choig that he wants to hunt the otters that come to the island around this time of year. Obviously they want the pelt, right? Choig is hesitant because last time the Russians came over, there was this guy, and basically they just killed as many otters as possible, didn't care about the ecosystem, left their dead bodies floating in the river. And at the same time, they actually didn't do it with their own men. They forced the natives to do the work for them and slaughter their own animals for like pretty much nothing in return. Obviously, Orlov sees that Choig is hesitant to agree to let him do this again, but Orlov makes sure to tell him, hey, that guy was an asshole. Like, we don't even like him anymore, and he's dead. Says the natives won't have to do everything, and basically they're going to do a two-thirds, one-third split, with the natives getting one-third of everything that they reap, and, them getting to keep two-thirds. And Choig is like, no, you're gonna do 50-50. And Orlov's like, well, bitch, you don't own the ocean. And Chowick is like, actually, bitch, I own the ocean to that rock. So try it again. Orlov is really not feeling it, but he looks around and, they're on the shore of a beach. You know what I mean? And then, like, if you can imagine, like, let me not lie. Okay, back here, there's like a cliff. He looks around and he sees all of these guys just ready, ready with their bow and arrows, um, just ready to shoot him. So he's like, fine, you'll get 50-50. Noe goes back to his tribe and announces that there will be Russians camping on the shore and they're going to be hunting, and then that they'll get some stuff out of it. But he makes sure to tell them, don't befriend them. Don't, ladies. Okay. They don't know friendship. They don't know loyalty. They're weirdos. Just let them over there and hunt. Basically, it's a trade deal, but we don't need to know them any more than that. And obviously, he has a previous reason as well for feeling this way, aside from how they treated the otters last time, is that, before that, the eldest daughter, Ulape, she had found a school of fish, a little far out from shore. It was a lot of fish, okay? And they washed up onto their beach, just like ready for them to harvest, really easy, no fishing needed. They got all of these fish, right? So somehow the Russians find out that they get this huge helping of fish. Okay, they're probably just kind of out patrolling these waters because there's lots of stuff in there. So maybe they have like some year-round boaters over there. And they come up to the shore and they're like, yo, we're tired of our dried fish. Since you guys didn't work for that, like, you should just give us some. And Ulapi's like, no. Chowick comes and he's like, "Bitch, what the fuck is going on?" They're like, give us some stuff or we're gonna tell on you. We're gonna go tell our leader on you." And Chowick is like, "Go tell him. Tell him that we don't want to give you fish, but also tell him that y'all don't have anything other than dried fish because y'all aren't fishing." Be like, make sure you tell him that too. Thank you. So since this happened before Orlov's time, you can only imagine that these guys probably came back to their mainland in Russia and were like, the natives on that fucking island are stingy as fuck. And that's just kind of what everyone thinks of them now. And so I feel like that's really the attitude that even though Orlov made sure to be like, yo, the last guy was a weirdo, I feel like, especially when it comes to the payment, he's like, oh, they're right, you are stingy. But it's like you were trying to give him 1/3 when you're literally camping in his water, killing all the animals. Like, you don't know what they use those animals for, you know what I mean? And like, you're giving, I'm gonna kill you. You're giving. What's really sad is that Karana describes the sea otters as the most playful animals in the sea. And while some people do have otter skin, what is it called? Not robes, like capes, just like shawls. It's really not common. It's for like higher up people because they love their otters. So seeing the Russians slay them for weeks at a time, it takes a toll on the people. And seeing them, dead in the water, because obviously they don't care about the meat, it's just like it's not a cute sight for the people. Hunting season is going on. The tribe is rumoring and talking amongst each other that maybe the Russians aren't going to pay them properly. They're all getting this vibe. And they ask Choig about it, and he says nothing. But he's just so sassy. I love him. He's been sharpening a new spear every day since the Russians came. I'm like, you ate, yes. So when it comes time to pay because the hunting season is over, Orlov brings basically a treasure chest over and it's full of diamonds and jewels and all the people are watching on that cliff I was talking to you about. And the women are like, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful." Like, yes, take it. Okay, they did their thing. And Choig is like, no, it's not doing it for me." Orlov has a solution to that, and he's like, "Oh, well, don't worry, like, obviously what we hunted is probably worth, like, 3 treasure chests. I have 2 more in the boat. I'm just gonna, like, put the otter skins in the boat before I give it to you, because there's, like, a storm. So just, like, let me load up my stuff, and then I'll give it to you. Like, no worries, like, it's on the boat." One of Orlov's men who is holding some of these otter skins, he's basically been stopped by Choig because he doesn't like the trade. So imagine like I'm Choig, Orlov is like right here. Okay, hi deodorant. And like there's a guy right here that Orlov is like neck checking right now. I mean, that Choig is neck checking right now because he wants to take the otter skins to the boat. Right. This guy gets tired and is like, "Man, I'm not listening to no brown people. I don't care. I'm loading these otter skins up onto the boat. Y'all can deal with your drama. There's a storm." So he tries to go, and now we switch to Karana's view. She's like, "I don't know if my dad hit him first or if he stabbed my dad first, but my dad was on the floor." So now Choig, the leader of their tribe, is laying dead on the beach. Obviously, the Russians are trying to basically steal the otter skins, and obviously war breaks out. And at first, the tribe is winning because obviously this is their home turf. They have a lot of weapons, but Choig was I mean, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. Orlov was planning this um, because he has backup around the corner and he has cannons. So even with the cannons from the one ship, they were doing okay. But then Orlov was like, "Oh, baby, I already knew this is what y'all was gonna do." After everything is said and done, the tribe agrees that the reason Choig died is because he gave the Russians his real name. And I'm just like, like, I understand, like, the culture, babes, but, like, he just died, bro. And you're talking about shouldn't have given them his real name. I, I don't know what to tell you. Like, damn. Cry, maybe. I said gave in, that was kind of embarrassing, but I'm just like, I'm really not trying to refilm. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, let's go. In the end, 27 of their 42 warriors died, and 7 of the remaining men left on the island were, like, basically too old to procreate or really help with anything or hunt anything. So, like, they're kind of they're kind of fucked. They end up burying the bodies of the people of their tribe, obviously, and burning the bodies of the Russians that are left on the beach, which there are actually quite a few. They don't take any of their, like, weapons, they don't take any of their clothes, they don't take their jewelry, anything. They're just like, "No, burn it." Obviously, they need a new chief now, and the person that steps up is Kimki. He's kind of an old dude, but he was known as a good hunter in his youth, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. And he tells the tribe, "Hey, I'm gonna make some changes that you guys aren't gonna like, but if I don't make these changes, we're gonna die." So he basically tells them, "Yo, women are hunting now." What's interesting about this, though, is that women aren't allowed to make weapons in their culture. It's just not something they're allowed to do. They believe that the weapons are, basically cursed if a woman makes them. So they still aren't allowed to make weapons, but they do have to hunt. And I feel like, we can really, it's giving the American military system, right? Anyways, the women actually hunt so well that they have extra food. And then there's nothing to do. And this actually poses a problem because they just went through this horrible, tragic event as a community. And probably the reason they were doing so well hunting is because they were, putting some of that sad energy and some of that depressed energy into hunting and just kind of like clearing their mind and being like, I'm locking in, this is what I got to do, right? So when they all come home and they're kind of antsy and they have nothing to do, they call it a sickness. A sickness like washes over their tribe. There's like they're fighting each other, everyone's angry. And I want us to remember that humans are like so complicated. I can't imagine watching like half of your, I mean, hi, Palestine. Like I said, I can't imagine watching half of your population die right in front of you and no one give a fuck. I actually can't imagine that. So obviously, these people are dealing with a lot of complicated emotions. So what Kim Ki decides to do, he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna head out. I actually came from a different island. I was not born on this island. I'm gonna see if that island is still viable. And if it is, I'm gonna move us to that island because it's obvious that this land, it's just not giving us good memories. It's not giving us good vibes. And I want us to be happy and I want us to be productive. And I don't want us to be fighting each other." And he says, usually when a chief goes out, he brings 2 to 3 men. However, I can't take that many men away from you guys because if the Russians come back in the meantime, then you'll be fucked. So I have to go alone. And everyone's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." And at this moment, I honestly was thinking, I hadn't remembered much of the book outside of Karana at this point, to be honest. So I was honestly thinking, like, does he want to come back? Or is he just going home to die? And he leaves, but then he doesn't return for longer than, like, already being too long. So they're starting to get worried, and another chief has to step up, and his name is Matasaip, Matasaip. Um, he says instead of worrying about Kimki, they need to worry about if the Russians are going to come back because it's beginning to be otter season again. He tells everyone that if the Russians come back, they are not going to fight at all. In fact, they need to make sure that their canoes are in good and working condition and that they can be put in an accessible place. Because if the Russians come back, they're going to hop on those canoes and head to Santa Catalina Island because that is where Kimki was headed. And that's the last instruction that they've gotten from their last, like, technical chief. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is basically like chief in standing. He's just like the technical replacement, but he still respects Kimki's decision making. And he's like, that's where he wanted us to go. If the Russians come back, that's where we're going. And well, you guess what? That was a pretty good decision to have everyone go over the game plan because now they see a ship approaching the island again, and everyone gets ready to evacuate, basically grabbing one or two things and getting ready to head to a canoe. But basically, there's a watcher that's on a rock, kind of back from the shore, and he's like, "Wait, guys, like these don't have red sails, like they're not Russians." And everyone's like, "Okay, like they're not Russians, but like, are they gonna kill us?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know." Kim goes out to talk to them, and it ends up they just call them white men, so that's all I can call them. It ends up being white men who Kim actually sent from Santa Catalina Island to come pick up the rest of the tribe. And so he goes back to tell the rest of the tribe, "Hey, like you don't have to pick one or two things, like pack your whole house, bitch." Like they're so hype at this point. They're like, "Pack all your shit, let's go." So now most of the town is packed up except for Karana and Ulape. They're just doing some last minute things. Karana is kind of making fun of Ulape a little bit because she is putting on their cultural like symbol on her face. It's two turquoise lines that she's ready for marriage. And Karana's like, you're just worried about the boys, but everyone knows that your little boo thing here is the one you're gonna be fucking on." And I'm just like, can y'all get in the ship? The guys on the ship are like, "Hey girls, like hurry up. There's gonna be a storm coming. Like literally everyone else is on the ship. Let's go." So then they get onto the ship. The ship sails, and then they realize that they weren't the last two people that needed to get on the ship. Ramo was not on the ship. And I'm just wondering, why is it all three of the Chiefs kids that can't get their shit together? I thought like hello. But yeah, so Ramo is just actually out on the beach running along the shore. But it's very obvious he's not going to get to the ship. And Karana is like, "Hey, like we need to go get him." And Ulape is like, "Hey, no, like they're gonna send a second ship. We just have to leave him. Like there's enough food on the island for him until the second ship comes. We just gotta leave him, bro, because we can't turn around at this point. There's a storm." And Karana's like, "Anyways," and she dives off the ship. So a little side tangent moment, there are wild dogs that live on this island, and the pack of dogs had gotten bigger, after a lot of their people died because they couldn't make enough food, hunt enough stuff to sustain them and the dogs. So the pack of wild dogs has dogs that knows where the camps are and where the hiding spots are for food, if that makes sense. So while everyone was exiting, there was some food that they left behind because obviously there's food on the ship and it's not going to take long to get there. You know, there's just a couple items that they probably didn't bring. So back to where we are. Karana gets onto the shore with her brother, and she's like, "It's okay, dude. Like, it's okay. Like, let's just go back to the village. That's what we know. That's where all our supplies are. Like, let's just make a plan from there." Well, unfortunately, the pack of wild dogs, as soon as the people left, ate all of the possible leftover food that they could have relied on. It's okay. They know how to do most things, honestly, and Ramo is not new to his sister bossing him around and telling him what to do. In fact, while she's over here stressing because they might like die, he tells her in pure little kid fashion. He's like, I don't even care if the adults come back. Like, you're way more fun. I love being on the island with my sister." As the days, weeks, and eventual months go by, they are able to, gather some sort of food and have some sort of routine. And it seems like it's kind of dawning on them that technically now Ramo is the chief of the island of the Blue Dolphins. And Ramo makes sure to point this out. And he's like, "Well, I need a new name for my chief name. I need a known name to keep my real name secret." Ramo comes up with the name Chief Tanyel Sitlapai. And he asks his sister, "What do you think?" And she's like, "That's long as fuck." But she still calls him this name anyway. The very next time she says, she's talking about her little brother in the book, she calls him Chief Tanya Sitlopai. This morning, she can't find her brother, and her first instinct is to go after him, but then she tells himself, "Hey, maybe he went out because now he's thinking about what he has to do to be a chief. Now he's thinking about what he has to do to be a man. I can't follow him around all the time. Like, there's only two of us here. We're gonna have to be on different parts of the island at different times and be able to fend for ourselves. He's probably getting some sort of food. I'm gonna gather some sort of stuff. We'll meet at night, and then I'll see how his first day as chief went." So she's just going around doing her thing, trying to basically let her brother have his space to mature. Well, it gets to the end of the night and she still has seen no sign of her brother, so now she's starting to get worried because once it gets really dark outside, they've been taught to kinda get inside. So she goes to find her brother, and unfortunately, near where the wild dog pack lives, she finds his body. And there's a large gash in his neck, and it's very obvious he's been dead for a little bit of time, quite a while, most of the day. And she finds this tiny little sword in his hand, like just a little bit away from his hand. That she said it was bloody, so he was obviously trying to fight these dogs. But she says the sword was, you know, a little bit maybe good for skinning fish, but not for killing those dogs. Sits with the body of her brother all night and she vows to kill every last one of the dogs on the island. And now we have to remember at this point, she is completely alone on the island except for, pretty much the pack of wild dogs. I just feel so bad for her because the amount of mixed feelings that she must have at this point, she's probably thinking, "Damn, like, I dove off the ship, this little nigga died anyway," and I'm not saying that in a shady way, like, she's probably just thinking that there are a lot of emotions going through her head, and then she's probably thinking, "Wow, you're a terrible person for thinking that, like, I'm so happy I saved my brother, he said he was happy on the island," and just again, she's a young girl, she's watched her dad die, her sister's somewhere that she can't get to, and now she's holding her dead brother's body. He basically falls into a deep depression. She doesn't really eat, she doesn't really harvest anything, she doesn't make any food, she doesn't hunt, she's just like, "Whatever." Then a fog falls over the island, and she says that the way it just weaved into the cracks of the houses and kind of made it feel almost like there were ghosts in the town. She says, "I just couldn't stand it." So one by one, she burns all of the houses down. She knows that she needs to settle somewhere else now. She doesn't want to resettle in the same place. She vows actually to never settle on the same lands again. But really, what she wants to do is leave the island completely. So honestly, that's the first goal that she sets for herself is I need to get the fuck out of here. She knows it's gonna take a while before she can do that, and also in the meantime, she needs food. So for now, she's gonna look for the best place to put her home, and she also is still dead set on killing these dogs. So she needs to make a shelter, make weapons, kill the dogs, then leave. And I'm like, girl, like, if you're planning on leaving, do you really need to kill the dogs? But at the same time, it's like this is her way of carrying out her grief, and like she's been through a lot of grief. So if you need to kill those dogs, kill the dogs. However, remember in their culture, women are not allowed to make weapons. So even though everyone is already either gone or dead, she still sees herself as a part of this culture and adheres to their rules. So instead of going to go make her weapons, she looks for some weapons that maybe could be on the beach from previous battles, or maybe did someone drop something while they were on the way to the ship. She doesn't find anything, but she does find a treasure chest. In fact, the treasure chest that her dad died over. It had been basically buried into the sand of the beach because no one wanted it. And she digs it up, and there are still jewels inside there, beautiful necklaces, beautiful things. And she puts it on, but then she looks over and she remembers all the dead people. And she says, really, these are mine. Really, it doesn't matter. But no. And she throws them into the ocean. She walks up and down the beach, doesn't find any weapons, and so she decides, fine, I gotta break the rules and I need to make my own weapons. And while she's making her own weapons, she's wondering if the very earth, if Mother Nature is going to punish her for doing this. And you have to think, say too much. This is how some people think. Winter, spring, summer passes, and the ship has not come. So, in this moment, I would hope that she feels good about herself and secure about the fact that she did come back for her brother because again, when she came back, there was no food because the dogs had eaten it all. And obviously the ship was not going to actually come back for him. So even if it was for a brief moment, she did what she could. And no one was gonna come back for Lil Dude. So a storm comes upon the ocean, which notes a change in weather again. And so then again, Karana gets very depressed because she realizes, wow, like that ship really is not. And so she decides that maybe I can just sail to Santa Catalina myself. Like we were going to go on our canoes. Maybe I can just get there myself. That's what Kimki wanted. Like, there's nothing else I can do. While the storm is raging, she manages to kill 3 dogs and learns how to make and use her weapons more and more. And when the storm is done, that's when she heads out on her canoe. However, she said that canoe building was also another man's job, and her canoe starts leaking. And she's like, wow, like it's kind of like at my knees. So I need to turn around. Like she turns around when the water is at her knees. I'm like, so basically just swim. Just swim. She finally gets back home. She's exhausted. She passes out on the beach. When she wakes up, she goes back to her village, her burnt down village, and she sees it and she's like, wow, like I'm actually like kind of happy to be here. Like I kind of almost died in the ocean. And it's just not worth it. And I'm actually happy to be here, happy to be somewhere familiar, and I can figure out how to make this work. She still wants to re-explore the island and find a new place to live and give herself a new start, but not in a like depressed, I don't want to be here way, but more in a like, let's work with what we've got, but also like try not to re-traumatize ourselves in the process, type of way. And I feel like she did like a little list of requirements for what she needed like her house to be. And I just thought it was really giving like house hunters. So I want to go through her requirements. So what she needs is for it to not be too far from the beach because that's where they get the abalones. Did I mention those before? I feel like I did. It's their main diet. They dry them in the summer so that they can actually eat and have food in the winter. So she really needs to be close to the beach to catch the abalones, dry them, and watch them. Um, it needs to be sheltered from the wind because the wind gets a little bit crazy, the storms get a little bit crazy, and it needs to be close to a good spring so that she has water. So she has two options. She has the headlands, which is kind of where the area where she's been before, and then she has this other place that's kind of like this rock-ish place that's in a good position, but it's kind of in a scary location. Okay. So the headland is familiar. However, it has rougher waters. It has no clear view of the whole island. So like she can't see if a ship is coming unless she gets in a certain position. She has to travel to go fishing, which again is like probably one of their main sources of eating. But it does have shelter from the wind because of the rocks. So the other place, it is unfortunately close to the dog's lair, and because it's close to the dog's lair, it's going to take a long time for her to settle there. Like, yes, she wants to kill the dogs, but she's like, is that feasible before I get a house? It has a better spring. It has calmer water, which is probably why the dogs like it over there. However, the rocks don't shelter from the wind. It has a good view from the rocks. She can see the beach. It has food. It has fishing. It has lots of great animals. Again, this is probably why the dogs love it. But there is a lot of noise because the little rock that she's on, below it, there is a rocky beach type deal where elephant seals are. And I don't know if you've ever seen the documentaries of elephant seals. They are loud. And it makes sense that she has a noise complaint. Oh, yes. Oh, well, yes, she has a noise complaint. They are loud all the time and they're stinky. She decides with, drum roll, please, drum roll. I can't play the drums. My brother can play the drums. Okay, I'm good at other things. That's really bad. She chose option 2. She stays one night there, and, the elephant seals never shut the fuck up. And so she's just like, "I actually cannot do this right now," and leaves in the middle of the night, and is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the headlands 'cause, that's ridiculous." So she's back in the headlands and she decides to make a plan. Her plan is that she needs a house to shelter herself from the dogs. She needs a fence to keep her food safe from the foxes because they're sneaky little animals. And she says that they're cute and she wants one as a pet, but they're way too sneaky and would just steal her food. And then she needs wood and stone for weapons to kill the dogs, but also wood to, build the house. Next morning, it's very obvious that Karana is feeling a lot better. She's even singing and, playing with her hair. Sorry, I yawned. I'm like not crying. Hi. Um, she's singing, she's walking through the spring, she's letting her hair down, and she's finally relaxed. And I really want to look at the fact that as soon as she set a goal for herself, her mental health completely 180'd. And I know that's not what this book is about, but I'm gonna talk about it. Stuff in motion stays in motion, stuff at rest stays at rest, yes. So if your brain is at rest, kind of thinking, and this is coming from someone who has previously wanted to, okay. If you're constantly like in the vibe of like, I'm not gonna get up, I'm not gonna take that walk, or I'm not gonna take that shower, or I'm not gonna brush my teeth, because I just don't feel like it. I just don't want to. Like, you're never gonna want to until you force yourself to want to. And that sounds like really fucked up, but it's just like if I never brushed my teeth, then I would never want to brush my teeth. But when I started brushing my teeth and I got used to the feeling of brushing my teeth, and then I would feel, you fall back into those depressive episodes where you're just like, I don't wanna, I don't wanna. And then you feel like, ah, well, now I know what it feels like to have clean teeth, and I wanna have clean teeth. And then just that one, I want to do something. That's what brings you out of some of the worst places that you can be. Just want to do something, even if it's as small as brushing your teeth or combing your hair. Anyways, she goes out looking for materials, and I really want to point out how native people to a land, not necessarily just like Native Americans and things like that, but like native people to a land know the land. So when she's out looking for materials, she remembers that a couple of years ago, a whale washed upon the beach and died. And so there should still be some pieces of bone somewhere in that area around the beach. And wouldn't you know it, there is a whole rib cage there. So she says, oh, yes, my fence. Only thing she can't really find is wood because there's not a lot of trees on the island. And she basically has to wait for something to grow and like die so she can use the wood, or like some wood to wash on shore and then she'll dry it or something. So that's what takes the longest. But once she gets that, those weapons are made, that stuff is done, she's ready to kill the dogs. The only thing that has ever been used to kill the dogs when they would kill them were the tusks of the elephant seals, because they're quite sharp and they're quite hard and they can be carved very easily to kind of cut through those big old muscles. Because she says dogs, but the way we're describing them, they kind of give wolf. They kind of give wolf or at least coyote. Good morning. Is that gonna help? There we go. Hi. Like, he's a little big to be calling a dog. Um, but yeah, so she needs to get that elephant tusk, and she's like, well, the only problem is that the only way we've ever killed the elephant seals is having multiple men throw a net over them, basically trapping them, and then we just go at them. But it's just me. I can't build that big of a net. Even if I could, I wouldn't be able to carry it over here. And then even if I could carry it over here, I can't. I can't. She goes over to where the seals are anyway, just to kind of like suss it out, see what the vibe is. And she sees a young one that she thinks she can kill with the spears that she has. So she's like, okay, like that's my target. She gets into position, but then like I think it's like an older one and another younger one come and they basically are fighting. They're trying to kill each other, yes. And so she's kind of like happy because it's like, oh, like if they do kill each other, easy money. So she's letting them fight it out. Unfortunately, her position is in their line of like fighting, and so they're coming towards her. And she's like, she doesn't know if they're gonna attack her or if they're just kind of like fighting in her direction and they're gonna roll over her or whatever. But she needs to get away from them. So she's running, and then she does, very cliche, very, very movie. Um, she trips and she breaks her leg. When she gets back to her camp and the adrenaline wears off, she realizes how swollen her shit is, and basically all she can do is crawl for 5 days, and, she has her healing, like, remedies that she has, and she has her herbs, and she has her splints that she can make, but all she can do is crawl for 5 days, and then she runs out of water. She crawls to the spring and is able to get a drink, but then she realizes that all the exits to the spring are guarded by dogs. Yes, they followed her there because basically they could sense that she was injured. So she really can't get out. However, there is a cave near the spring that they cannot get into. So basically, she has to live there for a couple days. Thankfully, there's some tiny little bugs and probably some little fishies in the spring and things she can subsist on for at least a couple days. But she does have to hide in this cave. And then once she finally feels better, she says it takes like 6 more days in the cave, which would be like 11 days total. She says that she makes the cave into a new little house in case she gets sick or injured ever again, so that she can be at least close to the fresh water and not have to crawl and possibly be attacked by these dogs even on her way there. I mean, it's a miracle they didn't attack her on the way there. When she's done making her house, she goes back to the scene where the sea lions were fighting, and to her joy, what would it be? To her content, there we go. Um, one of them is dead. Yay! So she harvests some of its tusks and she's ready to make her weapons. She's able to make 6 really hard spears from this, and it's really great that she can use these tusks because she can reuse these spears if she gets her hands back on them, right? And so she knows that really what she needs to do is kill the main leader of these dogs because he's big. The other dogs that are native to the island are kind of like brown. They have brown eyes. They're a little bit smaller. They're a little bit easier to fight. But this big dog, it has yellow eyes that are like kind of slanted. It has white fur. It's more akin to a wolf, like I was showing you guys, and it's just big. And she's like, I gotta get rid of you. I think what's also playing into the reason why she wants to get rid of this dog is because it did come from the Russians. It's a Russian dog. That's why it looks so much different than their dogs. And I feel like she just really does not want any more reminders of the Russians being on her island. So it's unfortunately kind of a little sorry, dog. I know you didn't choose your race, but that's where you came from. She lays a couple traps to kill the other dogs so she's not wasting spears on them. And she does actually injure the head honcho with that. And she follows him to go catch him. And he really doesn't protest. He's just like, okay, like, I'm dying, I guess. Karana doesn't kill him. She doesn't kill the dog. In fact, she picks him up and takes him to her house and puts him outside the house. And she keeps telling herself that she doesn't care about this dog and that she doesn't care if it lives or dies. But at the same time, she's putting the herbs on his wounds. She's feeding him water because he basically can't like walk or stand at this point, and giving him, a little fish every day, but being like, "Ugh, I don't care about him. I don't care about that dog." The emotions Karana's going through right now, I like literally can't imagine. You have to think it's literally her only way to have companionship on the island. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would judge her for keeping the dog, being like, "Oh, that dog killed your brother." But, lonely forever, nothing forever, you're gonna domesticate one of the dogs too, and you're probably gonna pick the cutest one too, which would be the white one. At first, she was sleeping on the big rock from before where the elephants were because she is still kind of scared of this dog, and it is right outside her house. And she's like, I don't want to sleep in front of him because he could really kill me. Like, I'm being nice to him right now, and he's injured and wounded right now, but he could pull a fast one and he could kill me in my sleep. So she sleeps somewhere else for 4 days. And then once the dog is all healed, she realizes that he's not leaving the camp. He's like waiting for her. And so she's like, fuck, I like this dog. Ugh, I'm gonna name him. And she names him Rontu, which means fox eyes in her language, because again, he has the slanted eyes and they're very that's how she noticed him. She always noticed his yellow eyes and his white coat. So with her new dog, Karana is basically just doing what she needs to do to be able to survive on the island. So right now she is making a canoe and he's running up and down the beach and like chasing seagulls and like biting sticks and getting in her way when she's trying to do things and making her life a little bit harder, but in the like best way possible. And I think it's just a really cute scene because it shows that like, everyone is always looking for that sense of normalcy. I mean, this is a very not normal situation, but you have to remember even the very real woman that was Juana Maria, you have to imagine, if she was on that island for what, like 18 years, like she had to create her new normal and you try to have as many normal things as you can in your new normal. And for her, it was a little dog that'll act like a dog no matter, what else is going on. When her canoe is done, she does a little perimeter boating around the island with Rontu, and she's kind of just testing it out, making sure that she built it right, making sure it's sturdy, and she needs somewhere to store it for like the winter months and the wet seasons and even the dry seasons so that it doesn't dry out and shrink and crack. So she's looking for a random cave somewhere and she finds it. And this little section is really interesting and fun to me, and I really love it, especially as a communications major. So let's get into it. Okay, so she goes into the cave and it says in the book what she describes it as, she calls it a devilfish. She says, I saw a devilfish. Now, when I first read that word, I was honestly thinking, okay, like devilfish does not exist, sorry, but maybe it's like a lionfish because like lionfish are like poisonous, right? I just feel like lionfish is very devilly, or I was thinking like jellyfish, right? So these were like my two options for what Miss Girl was talking about. So through the wording, through the description, I was able to find out that she was talking about an octopus because she said it had, a million arms. It was like fast as lightning. It could fit anywhere. It had a hard beak in the center. And she said that it disappeared into clouds of blackness. And I just really feel like, again, like as a communications major, this is how you have to like describe things when you're talking to people who speak different languages. And I always wondered as a kid, like, well, how does someone say that that means that in one like, how are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know, "Okay, this is this in my language, this is this in my language," and it's coming from the art of storytelling and description and being able to perceive things. So I always feel like, even if you're just observing just to observe, just, like, observe things. It makes things so fun, it makes you a better communicator, and, like, yeah, it's silly, I really appreciate it. Piranha decides that she really wants to kill this devilfish, right? Because she remembers that they're so delicious, and they're just like really a delicacy in their culture, and they really never get to have them. But it's because they need a special spear to be able to kill it. So that's kind of on her list of things to do. Is she needs to make a spear to kill the devilfish. Also, she said it was like huge, so that's why she really wants this one because it's a big boy. She makes the spear a little bit later. She's ready to go. She brings Rontu. They end up killing the octopus, right? But during that whole scuffle, like it was really hard. She like low-key almost drowns. She's realizing that, those suckers are a little bit crazy when there's only two targets that it needs to like get its hands on, right? Rontu like low-key almost drowns. But she ends up killing it, right? And, she brings it back to the camp. She wants to be happy, but Rontu disappears. And morning comes and he's not back. She's worried that maybe he went back to the dogs. Maybe she scared him with that octopus. And she's worried because if he goes back on their side, she knows that she definitely won't be able to kill him after having loved him, after having been his friend, having been his friend, sorry, and taking care of him. So she's like, I really hope that's not what's happening. But she also just kind of can't afford to go looking like for a dog. Like a dog could be anywhere on an island when you leave it alone for a night and a day, you know what I mean? And she has things to do. While she's doing her thing, she hears dog fighting in the distance, so she goes to see what's going on and she sees Rontu and three dogs engaging in a battle. And she thinks to herself, I could take off one of these dogs, but she kind of is realizing that one, Rontu is not losing. Okay. And two, this might be his way of proving to them something. So maybe she shouldn't interfere. He says basically what it seems like is that the pack of dogs have a new leader, and that new alpha is going after Rontu and basically trying to prove himself. Well, Rontu said Girl, fuck you. You ain't nothing but a bitch. Um, kills him. Yeah. Injures the other 2 dogs and is like, "Don't y'all ever try that shit again." And, from then on, the pack is divided into 2 smaller packs, so they're never that one big pack of dogs again. You have to assume that maybe one side is like, "Oh, we still love Ron too, you know, he did what he needed to do," and the other side is like, "Girl, fuck y'all." But after that day, he never goes back to the dogs, but the dogs also don't mess with them. Kalara has her dog back. She's got some good weapons. She's made a lot of her goals. She's got a lot of food saved up. You know, she's been doing those Avalons. She's like, okay, like, let's make life about living instead of about getting things for survival, right? So the first thing she does is find some animals to connect with, right? So there are these 2 birds that are right outside her house. She takes them in, she clips their wings because she thinks they're pretty cute. And she lets them roam around. Like to me, it's giving chicken because I can't imagine any other bird that you would want to roam around. Like I know they're not chickens because she got them from like a nest. But I'm just like, don't birds poop a lot? There are even some days where she really has nothing to do and she likes to just put on her nice clothes, and she even made a little collar, a little wreath for Rontu that he very obviously does not like, but endures for her, and she just walks up and down the beach looking pretty and looking cute because she can finally just chill and like appreciate all the things that she has made and all the things that she has done to be able to get to this stable moment. What she also does with Rontu is go sailing around and just kind of hit the seas and see what's up. And she sees this rock and she remembers this specific rock because it's called Tall Rock. And she remembers sailing by it as a child. And that the day after she sailed by this rock as a child, that's when the Russians came. And she says, you know what? I'm never visiting this rock again. I'm turning around. I'm going back home. Well, a boat appears on the shore the very next day. She erases any evidence of her actively living on the island. She basically makes it look like it's deserted. She gets Rontu. She's like, yo, we're heading to this cave at the back of the island. If they're coming to hunt otter, like whatever, we're just gonna hide back here, do what we need to do until they leave. It's kind of close to the spring. So like, yeah, we might be a little cramped, but we can make it work. She decides to work on this skirt, and I'm gonna include a picture of what a cormorant is because I don't even know at this point. But she says she makes a skirt out of cormorant wings, and it's a bird, and that's what she's working on. That's what she's doing. And every once in a while, she goes to the spring, and it's super slay. The only thing that she's worried about is that there is a girl on the beach. That's obviously kind of like the man's girl, you know what I mean? Not like in that way, but it's like she's doing the cooking, she's doing the cleaning, she's gathering things, she's getting the water, and that's what's really making Karana nervous because she's near the water, and this girl might find her. Well, again, she was right in feeling that way because one day the girl does find her. They're both at the spring, and immediately Karana's like, "Oh, I will kill you. Oh, I will kill you." The girl points to herself and is obviously trying to be friendly and says, Tutok, like, my name is Tutok. Um, Karana doesn't introduce herself. And what Tutok does next actually makes Karana want to kill her more. She realizes that Rontu is one of their dogs, and Rontu knows her, maybe thinks her scent is familiar in some way, and she goes to hand Rontu a piece of food, and he actually starts coming towards her, and that's when Karana is like, "Bitch, get away from my dog." Tutok is not really phased, and I have to assume that maybe Tutok is a little bit older, because I do think that Karana is at most 15. Like, she's not the most intimidating looking girl, so I can understand maybe she's not intimidated, but I mean, she's killed a couple dogs, she's done her thing, she's holding a spear. Like, maybe don't laugh in her face and be like, it's whatever. Tutok doesn't care. In fact, she catches a glimpse of the skirt that Karana is working on, and she says the word for beautiful in her language, which I think, what was it? Winsha? Something like that. Okay. Yeah, Winsha. If that's how you even say it. And Karana, being the oh hi girl's girl that she is, she completely forgets that she was attacking this girl, and she's like, it's so cute, right? She drops her weapons, in fact, and she goes to pick up the skirt, and she lets it dazzle and kinda, like, dance in the sun, and she's like, "Look, girl, I made it myself." Karana realizes that she really likes the sound of someone else's voice and someone else's laughter, and she's actually quite glad that she didn't, just kill Tutok. And, Tutok obviously has to go back to her camp, and Karana is still worried that maybe she's gonna tell the dudes that she found a girl on the island while they were away. So that night, Karana honestly makes plans to flee, and she's like, "Okay, like, as soon as it gets a little bit light outside, me and Rontu are gonna get out of here," because even though she's acting nice, like, my dad said you can't trust the Russians and that they're traitors, so I'm not going to give this girl too many inches, okay? That morning, as she's getting ready to leave, she sees that there is a necklace sitting right outside the cave, and she doesn't take it. She's like, it still might be a trap. I'm gonna sit up here for the morning and watch and see if anyone comes up to that necklace to see if they were trying to trap me, basically, right? So she's sitting there, a couple hours go by, and she sees Tutok come up, and Tutok can visibly see that the necklace is still there, and Corona can kind of tell that she's, like, very disappointed. She's like, "Oh, like, she didn't take my gift, like, what?" And so then Corona bursts out of the bushes, basically, and she's like, "Wait, wait, girl, I'm right here. I love it." To talk, she says, "Wincha," if that's how you say it, um, which means beautiful, but then she says, in her language, it's Wintai, and so then they kind of do that all day, being like, "Oh, what's your word for water? Your word for water. Oh, here's my word for bird. Here's my word for bird." And they're just doing that as the days go by, basically. Piranha finally gives her name to Tutog, but again, she gives her, no name, her fake name, basically, Won Apele, girl with the bust down. Okay. Um, and Tutog is very happy at this. She's like, okay, yes, this girl, like, finally likes me. And then what Karana also decides to do is I'm going to make her a little circlet for her hair since she gave me this beautiful necklace. I'm going to make her something really cute, really slay for her hair. They're exchanging their gifts, they're being super slay, they're giving hugs, they're laughing, they're vibing with each other. So Karada decides, hey, it's not Wana Pele anymore, it's Karada. And at this point, honestly, guys, my heart sunk reading this book. I was just like, why would you do that? But isn't it so funny how quickly culture can captivate your brain? I mean, you were probably feeling the same way when I said that shit, no? And it's literally just words on a book from the 60s, you know? So the human brain, it's very interesting, it's very silly. But girl, I'm mad at you for giving her your real name. Nothing actually happens. The ship leaves, and now Karana is more lonely than she was before because she had that brief moment of genuine human interaction and connection, and she knows that she, again, will probably never see Tutok for the rest of her life. Just a quick interruption since she wanted to be on camera. You want to be on camera so bad? Let them look at you. Just jumping onto my shit. Anyways, hi, here's my cat. Back on the island. Again, the hunters didn't really care about the animals or their well-being or the ecosystem, and this time they really didn't have anyone to hold them accountable. So, it's not looking yummy in the water. Again, very bloody, lots of bodies. It's even worse than before because, like I said, they're doing this all for free and there's no one there to tell them to stop or be more humane or do anything. So, Karana is out by the little wave pool that is on the shore of the beach, and she sees this otter that's basically too injured to go, all the way out to the water. So she decides, hey, I'll rehabilitate this dude for now. I'll feed him fish. I'll name him Mon Ani. Yes, that's his name, period. Mon Ani, which means boy with the big brown eyes, because he has really big puppy dog eyes. And she makes a new little friend. Unfortunately, Mon Ani leaves after Karana can't fish for 3 days and basically can't feed him. And she's like, oh, that's kind of sad. But then he does come back later, but with babies, and she realizes, oh crap, those are her babies. And so she renames her Won Ani, which means girl with the big brown eyes. And I just thought that was really cute because she was like, oh, I missed the vibe. I'm so sorry. So Karana's got a lot of her pets. She's got a lot of free time. She did have that little friend. At least she has some nice memories to look back on. Everything's going really slay. Really cute, right? Well, no. Guess what happens? Just guess, just guess, just guess. Yes! Rontu dies. Karana digs for 2 days, making him a nice, really big grave. She buries lots of his favorite sticks. She covers it in these pretty rocks that she got on the beach that he loved to run up and down so much. And then she falls into an extreme depression. She sees a glimpse of the dog pack again, and she realizes that one of those dogs is white with yellow eyes, and he is Rontu's son, and she needs that boy. She needs him. She said, "Girl, I need me a dog. I actually am not doing this alone. I'm just not. And if I can get Rontu's clone, Imma get him." So what she does, because she doesn't want to really waste any weapons or like hunt a dog, to be honest, she's still like low-key depressed, is that she just takes a mild poison and puts it into the spring, and basically it puts all the dogs to sleep. And she carries him back to the house just like she did with his father, and she names him Rontu Aru, which means son of Rontu. So what happens after that is we literally have one full chapter where it's just describing how earthquakes fuck up everything that Corona has spent this entire book building. That's literally one whole chapter. All her food is gone, all her canoes are gone, all of her weapons are gone, her house is gone, her abalones are gone. It's all gone. The next day after that, a ship approaches the island, and it's a ship that she's never seen before. At first, she goes running for the hills, but then she stops and she's like, wait, like, no matter who these people are, I just want them to take me. I just want to leave. I don't want to do this all over again. I don't want to be alone. Like, just take me. So she circles back around and she's like, hey, wait, but they already started leaving. He wonders who sent these people because it was quite obvious that they were looking she thought they were looking for something, but now she's thinking they were looking for someone, and that someone sent these people to go pick her up, and she possibly just missed them, but, there's nothing that she can do about it now. She spends her days wandering around the island, hoping that, anyone comes back for her. You kind of get the sense that she's like losing hope at this point and being like, ugh, what's the point? Like everyone just dies or something comes and fucks my shit up and then I have to do it all over again, right? Well, these guys do come back. And when they come back, guess what she does is she puts on her symbol for marriage, just like she slut shamed her sister for. And she goes out to the beach with these men and is like, "Babe, I'm packed. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go." The guys are like, "Okay, per, we'll take you." And they're very enthusiastic about like getting her like into their clothing, being like, "Oh, this will help you like fit in. Like, you're so slay. We'll make it for you right here." And honestly, she's very excited. She's like, "Oh, these men are making me a dress. Oh, okay, slay." But then she puts it on and she was like, "I like my clothes more. This is scratchy. It doesn't show the body T. Okay, it's not giving bod. And I look like a blob." But she wears it and she's like, "Whatever. I'm gonna go with these men. I'm gonna try and integrate into their culture because I just need to leave." And don't worry, she takes, anything she can take that wasn't destroyed by the earthquakes, and she takes Rontu Aru. And you have to remember, ships can take months or years to go to and from places. So she's able to communicate with them a little bit better as time goes on. Sorry, there's like hair everywhere now. Um, and they're able to tell her, like, hey, so you remember Kimki? Yeah, so do we. He actually did send another ship full of white men to go get you and your brother, but they died in a storm. So basically, what we had to do was get more men, more ships, more food. We kept sending out ships. We kept dying. I'm sure you saw all those storms, girl. But we were trying to get you, like, you weren't forgotten. Pretty open-ended on whether she actually reunites with her tribe or not. But she does, go wherever these white men are taking her. And, she gets her, I won't call it a happily ever after, but she has her doll. She's heading to her new life, and hopefully she will have a community around her. And that is the end of our book. So that is the end of our book, but I'm going to do this outro a little bit differently because this story is about an Indigenous woman, and I'm gonna be so honest, I want to bring light to the missing and murdered Indigenous women's movement, and we're gonna get into that right now, actually. So all of my information that I'm about to share with you right now, I got from actually I'm going to look at it so I don't get it wrong, nativehope.org, and it's funded by St. Joseph's Indian School, and they maintain the website. So if you want to go check that out, again, it's going to be linked in the description. I feel like such a YouTuber for saying that. But this is like actually kind of sad. So as I said in the beginning of this video, this is based off a very real story of a woman who, let's just be actually so for real, was trafficked and ended up being killed by some random white dude because of colonization and weirdos. So I want to talk more about this movement and how you can be aware of it and how you can help if you would like to help. One of the best things you can do is to just be aware, because one of the things that our government wants you to not be is aware of how many indigenous people they let get killed and kidnapped every single year. In 2016, the National Crime Information Center reported that there were 5,712 reports of missing American Indian and Alaskan Native women and girls. That's just the women and girls. Though the U.S. Department of Justice's Federal Missing Persons database only logged 116 cases out of 5,712. The murder rate for Indigenous women is 10 times higher than the national average, and murder is the third leading cause of death in Native women. And like the other causes of death are just because we treat our natives horribly and they don't have access to healthcare, and they have more access to casinos and like nicotine and just vices instead of like actual help, and we put them out in the middle of nowhere, and now we're like, oh, why are their communities doing so? Okay, well, May 5th is the official MMIW day and is most widely celebrated across the US and Canada. However, February 14th, also Valentine's Day, is a day of action and awareness, and this is a day that activist groups organize women's memorial marches and things like that. So, maybe for the future, just keep those two dates in mind. I know, unfortunately, they have both already passed, but you can definitely remember that Valentine's Day is also missing and murdered Indigenous women's, it's like awareness and like action day. And then specifically May 5th is the actual, I think I just hit the mic, so sorry, is the actual just like MMIW day. And always remember that the like logo, I guess I don't want to call it a logo, like that seems very like reductive, is the red hand over the mouth. Because again, these people are being silenced. 116 cases out of almost 6,000. So I just wanted to put that in there because honestly, I felt really irresponsible, like talking about this in a fictional and kind of like ending it in an upbeat way, and knowing that, especially with what's going on in this country, what this country has done in the past, like I just couldn't in good conscience, you know what I mean? Obviously, I like it, right? Um, let's get to the fun outro. So I know we've been reading a lot of historical fiction. We're actually going to be switching up the vibe a little bit, and we're going to go right back here. Oh, hi. And grab Little Women. I actually got this from Marshall's. Isn't she so cute? They usually don't look like this, right? Hi. Yeah, this is what we're going to be reading. I know it's kind of like an American classic, Louisa May Alcott. I have actually, oh wow, it's beautiful on the inside. I've literally never read this book. Nevada education system, yes. I did read the what's that other one? The Crucible. I loved The Crucible, but we did not read Little Women. So this is what we're going to dive into next time, because again, this was a one and done speed read. So I really hope you liked this format. Obviously for this book, we are not going to be doing that. I'm going to be feeding y'all good. Okay, visit those websites. Stay literate.